everybody. Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven on Winter Solstice. We want to wish everyone a happy Yule, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, joyous Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, because tonight we are celebrating movies and witches in movies. My name is Patti Negri. I am your host for this evening, but let me introduce you to my beautiful co-hosts here every week. Let's start with Heather Greene in the beautiful, well, it looks like a red hat, but with her, it's probably purple. No.
It's red. It's red today.
Okay, so I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves today because we never do that.
Okay. Hi, I am Heather Greene. I am the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, which I'll hold up. There you go. I am also a religion journalist and an acquisitions editor at Llewellyn, and my expertise, and I am a film historian, and witch. So I'm here to contribute from my perspective.
And we are thrilled to have you. And just below her, depending on your screen, we have Jason Mankey, also an author and witch. And why don't you introduce yourself, Jason?
I am the author of almost a dozen books, but this time of year, I always like to promote Llewellyn's Little Book of Yule. I love the holiday so much, I wrote a book about it. I really love witchcraft history. And, of course, I love witches in movies, which is why I'm here. And all hail the Krampus, the true reason for the season.
All hail Krampus! Woo! Thank you very much. And next we have, depending on where you are, is Courtney. Say hi, Miss Courtney Buckley.
Hi, that's me. I'm Courtney Buckley. I am a witch, not a very good one, but a witch nonetheless. I'm ghost bait on Scared and Alone. I work in tourism in Salem, Massachusetts, and I am the chauffeur for Black Phillip out and about on all of his adventures. And I love movies and I love to talk. So here I am.
Perfection. And then next, we're saving the magic for, well, not even quite last, Richard-Lael.
Hello, I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I'd be a dick. Anyway, so I am known as the Gentleman Psychic. I'm a psychic and a medium. I used to be a psychic and a small, but I gained some weight. I also do stand-up. I used to do stand-up, but I found I make more money on my back. Enough about that. Today I was actually inspired because I wanted to be dressed like the Drosselmeyer from the Nutcracker. So I didn't have an eye patch.
You look wonderful.
You look perfect.
Thank you.
You look absolutely delightful. And again, I am Patti Negri. You might know me from all sorts of things on the big screen, the little screen, and from my Witching Hour podcast, same producers. We all did bring some of our friends with us today. Of course, we brought our obligatory Black Phillips because this is our mascot for the show. And then I brought Belle. Everybody, wait, look at the camera. She's so... Belle, my haunted 100-and-something-year-old doll. And then I brought her friend Cheryl, who is not haunted, but spirits like to move around a lot. So they had the right color dresses, so I thought I would bring them in. Heather, who do you have with you?
I have Kirsten. So here she is. She's restored. I restored her, and she is a big fan of Krampus. Look at her outfits. She's a huge fan of Krampus. American Girl doll from a long time ago. And I'm also working on another restore, which she's really looking forward to being friends with your doll, Patti. So I just thought I would bring her out because she is really one day I'm going to bring her back out and she's going to be all fancy like yours, but she is looking forward to being friends with your haunted doll. So I'm looking forward to that. Yes. Witchy dolls. I have a few others, but I won't bore you. I want to know who's over there with Richard-Lael, because that face is something really interesting.
And Richard-Lael.
So, I found this guy online and he comes from England and he's really, really tall. It was in a haunted doll group of all things, though I don't think he's haunted. He's just creepy. But he kind of looks like Willy Wonka, kind of looks a little bit like the Mad Hatter. But he was fun. I thought I enjoy him.
He's beautiful.
I'm having flashbacks to Scared and Alone, and I feel like if anyone told me I was going to be surrounded by dolls tonight, I might have been too sick to come on. I'm just saying.
So you have no dolls with you there, Courtney?
No, I do not. I have one maybe that I feel like I might like, but she's not here, and maybe we'll see. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of attention in my home yet, but I do have Black Phillip, who is Max to my Grinch today. Oh, but I do have something festive that I'd love to share with you guys that I got. Oh, look, there's Black Phillip, a little man about town in Salem.
That's amazing.
And if you look closely there, you'll see, so we're in front of the Samantha the Bewitched statue that we were talking about before. And I am wearing some Witches Coven movie gear, or Witches Movie Coven merch. And you all can get yours just like me on mysterycontrol.com. So not only did Black Phillip go to Salem, but so did the merch. It was very exciting. But since it's Christmas, I want to show you guys this. I love Christmas, but I do love Halloween. So I don't have a haunted doll, but I do have a corpse ornament that I got.
Of course you do.
Wow, I need to get my husband with the rim shots tonight. This is good.
And then this is the leg lamp from A Christmas Story, but like zombified. I also got a bloody chainsaw and a coffin, and I got them. This is a picture of the coffin. Horrornaments, and I mean, how best to celebrate Yule? So that's how I chose to do it.
Perfection. Thank you. Jason, anybody in your court there?
I have Skeletor. That's as good as it gets. I watched too many Robert the Doll videos, and I'm terrified of dolls as a result. So just He-Man figures.
Listen, I'm proud to be on the same team as you in the doll debate.
Yes, it's scary.
Yeah. You do not want to go in my doll spa. There's parts everywhere, Jason.
Oh. I love body parts, not doll parts.
Yeah, you don't want to go back there.
No.
Courtney, you know how odd that sounds that you don't mind human bones all over your house, but a doll leg?
Yeah, isn't that... Oh, hold on. Oh, no, I can't find it. I was going to hold up my humorous and say, isn't that humorous? But it's not in reach right now. So it's a femur instead.
My husband to do rim shots from next week. Besides that, it is official Witches Movie Coven night. It is also a beautiful holiday. It is the Winter Solstice. It is the shortest day of the year. It is the longest night of the year. It is Yule. So how does any of my cohorts celebrate, or do you celebrate a special way today? And you can out there too. Put it in the list. Jason.
I celebrate like a Roman, which is why I have this giant glass of wine. Yeah. December celebrations were often festive, drunken, and gluttonous, and I have decided to keep to those traditions this time of year.
It seems to be going around. My iPhone keeps telling me I'm getting fat.
Oh, that's pleasant. Siri is not
cool.
nice.
I know. It's like your weight has changed these last few weeks. It's like, and then it listed like all the diet programs I could go on. It's like, how dare you, fat shamed by an iPhone? You know? All right. I'll start the diet. Yeah, that's. Wow. I should have taken a screenshot. I should have. Anyway, so how about you, Heather? Are you doing anything special for the season?
Well, it's middle of the week, definitely for the season. We have a series of family things we do over December. And since Christmas itself was always a Yule celebration, we do everything on the Christmas day. Because I did not grow up Christian, Christmas was always a secular or seasonal holiday. So we just keep to that date. So we don't typically do it unless I'm doing something with a group of witches specifically. And that doesn't even always happen on the 21st, because if it's in the middle of the week, people are working. So it's either a private ritual that's more witchy, and we do the big family stuff this weekend, and I've been prepping for shopping for food and cooking and cookies and all of the good stuff. And all of the stuff for the Saturnalia stuff that Jason was talking about, we're delaying it a few days.
Beautiful. How about you, Richard-Lael?
Well, I went on a sleigh ride in my one horse open sleigh, Mr. Satan. You know, why not? So, so I did go on a sleigh ride with that. There's no snow, but it might as well. And then my birthday is New Year's Eve, so I like that because more people celebrate my birth, the birth of Christ. So, you know, everywhere I go, it's my birthday. So that's fun. There's always a party. So that's what I do for the season. It's sort of, I mean, if I do something for Yule, it's usually very sort of self, and I'll light a candle and sort of welcome the light, as the case were. So that's what I do.
Beautiful. Courtney?
Well, so I did something pretty magical this past weekend. There's a place here in Massachusetts called Old Sturbridge Village, and it's like set up like a period style town, and you have all the little buildings that you can go into and learn about, you know, whatever colonial times or whatever, and they like do the actual things, and they're dressed up in period clothing, and they do like a festival of lights. And a couple years ago we went for the first time, and I was having a really hard time that year with my mental health, and I couldn't find the spirit of Christmas anywhere. And I found it when I went there, and I was so filled with it that I think over the last couple of years through COVID and not going, I built it up in my head, and I thought, you know, it was going to be this huge magical event, and I was afraid that I was going to get disappointed. But we went this weekend, we walked in, I started to cry because I felt it was so beautiful. And then it started to snow just a little bit, and we got to take a horse-drawn like carriage ride, and we got to see them make like wooden toys. But there was they called it the wishing bridge, and it was on this beautiful dark path around a pond, and there was a covered bridge, and inside they had lit trees, and it was just plain white lights, and they were covered in these like little brown paper tags. And the people, I'm getting emotional just talking about it, everybody walking through was encouraged to write a wish on the tag and hang it so you could walk around and read everyone's wishes. And that was very emotional. My son wrote a very emotional wish, and it was beautiful. And so I feel like, you know, sometimes I struggle, but I find that Christmas, that magical spirit, in different ways. And I think I found it this weekend. But our Christmas does look different this year, and I am looking for some witchy ways to celebrate and to add some new traditions. So if anyone has suggestions on how to incorporate that, I am all ears.
Okay. Anybody else? Who did we miss? Nobody?
You, Patty. What are you doing?
And Jason.
Okay. I have been celebrating for days and days, starting out with, the season is about the return of the light, as Richard-Lael said, whether the Christian, the Christ thing, or the pagan, the Yule, the returning of the light, as the days get longer. So I went to the LA Zoo. Anybody's in LA, and they took the zoo, but put this amazing, I don't know, light show all around. You don't see many animals, but sometimes you hear them in the back. And there's certain areas that you go into, and they say, shush, quiet, animals are sleeping. And there's something so magical. Know that there's these beautiful light shows around all these beautiful animals. I know zoos can be controversial, but I think this one's pretty good, and they're trying really hard, and they have really beautiful habitats for most of their animals. So that was how I started it. Tonight, the solstice itself, I'm actually having a vampire witch celebration. Everybody, as soon as we go off here, I have a group of people coming, and we're going to celebrate my saber-tooth family with the ritual that we do there to celebrate with some black mirror work and some candle work. And then tomorrow, a coven I work with is gathering to do some Yule work. And it's a time, really, it is a celebration. It's not an exact, like certain other holidays that you dance around the maypole on Beltane, you do this or that. It's, to me, it really is maybe a Yule log, bringing in the light, celebration, stories and things. You know, now we get to Saturnalia, you know, again, there's the let's drink and party and put our clothes on upside down backwards. That's a whole different party, but I haven't had one of those yet this year.
There's still time. Lots of time. Just wait. Just wait until we go off the air, or I have another glass of wine during the show. Who knows what will happen? Catch it live on my OnlyFans later.
Subscribe.
It's funny. So let's talk about Christmas movies, shall we? Who's got a favorite Christmas movie? Heather. Okay, no, Courtney. Courtney had her hand up first.
Sorry. Well, no, I mean, I just talked a lot, but I have all of the favorite Christmas movies. Where do I even start? I work in a public school, and we had on Year Without a Santa Claus because the Heat Miser and Snow Miser songs are my favorite. And I was worse than the children, running around the room, singing at them. And they were laughing at how embarrassing I was.
Those are bangers. Those songs are so good, though.
Right?
They're so good.
All year long.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, I have 1,000 more, so someone else should probably go.
Okay. All right. Jason, since you are Mr. Christmas, we won't get to bah humbug Richard-Lael quite yet, who doesn't like the season. But you do, Jason.
I love the season. Like, I've been celebrating since like the 10th of November. It's the best time of year. And I've been thinking all day like what I want to talk about, because I love Rudolph. I love all of the all the Rankin Bass stop animation. But my favorite Christmas movie, and this is a cliche, is It's a Wonderful Life. And a lot of people probably don't like It's a Wonderful Life, but it's a really dark movie in a lot of ways. There's a great deal of sadness to it. And it has this beautiful message about how one life impacts so many others. I think my favorite part of the movie is he goes and he visits his brother's grave. If you haven't seen the movie, George Bailey, the protagonist, he gets to see what the world would be like if he had never been born. He saves his brother's life at one point. His brother in World War II saves an entire aircraft carrier. And then he goes and he sees his brother's grave and he's horrified by it. And the angel who's taking him through this says, everyone died on that aircraft carrier. I mean, it's chilling. It's bone chilling. And I think when we think of that movie, we think of the last 5 minutes, which are kind of happy and hopeful, but there's like real darkness to it. And I think maybe that's why I like it so much. But that whole moral of how we affect so many other lives and how we can make a difference and how these things ripple is something that really stays with me throughout the year. I don't have to watch the whole movie, but I have to watch the last 45 minutes of the movie every year, preferably on Christmas Eve, preferably the NBC feed, so I can pretend that I'm watching it with millions of other people.
I honestly think that's my favorite movie too, and one that I can say I've watched more than anything. So I don't know that that's cliche, but it's classic. It is classic. I have a question though before we go on. Why is it we, as witches, and we are all lovely witches of slightly different paths and things, why do we so embrace the dark? We do, don't we?
I think it's more fun. I think.
What?
I think it's more fun.
I think it's about acknowledging the reality around us. I mean, I think too often people just focus on one thing, and you can't have the light without the dark. You have to have both sides of the equation, and I think witches are just more cognizant of that.
I think I agree, because again, I'm a good witch. I work light, all this stuff, but we love the haunted this and the dark this and the spooky movies and the spooky everything. I think it's just life. Just wondered because I mean, you're going, It's a Wonderful Life. It's dark and we like it.
I think at least like in my limited form of practice, like I tell people all the time, because when I say I'm a witch, they like gasp and oh my God, it's what? Like, but it's, are you a bad witch? Well, sure, I guess sometimes, because in my practice, like I don't necessarily believe in good and evil. I believe in balance. So if someone does a bad thing and I need to do something bad to right that bad thing, then to me, that's not a bad thing. That's balance. Like it's, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words better than that, but I think, there's also not everybody feels comfortable in the dark. And I feel like where we are comfortable with ourselves and the way that we practice, we have to be free and, and open to things, then we're just naturally more comfortable with that dark side because, that's part of it.
I actually have, if I may, there is something to add to that, Courtney. As an artist, you've seen some of my work on Scared Alone. You have a piece right there behind you. So when I would have art shows, people would come to my art and they would touch it and they would expect to feel three-dimensional objects, metals and woods and carved and intricacies, and it's actually two-dimensional. And I liken it unto witchcraft because I tell people that the light, everything is contorted and it's twisted. The light can make someone's pink hat look red and someone's red hat look pink. It's actually the light. The light is not entirely the truth. The light is what we look for, but that is not really the truth. Anything in the darkness is the truth, because in the dark, it is what it is. There's no pretense. It's not hiding. It's not pretending to be something that it's not. It doesn't lie. However, if you walk in only the light, you get blinded and you can't see anything else and everything is distorted. If you walk only in the darkness, then you will stumble, because even though everything is telling the truth, you don't know what is actually there. You can't see beyond. But real power is walking in the middle, walking in the darkness, holding the light and commanding the shadows. That is how I create artwork. That is how I do magic.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think, working in the paranormal world and working in the whole ghosty world and all that, if you bring a candle into a room, you bring the light, then you get to see all the shadows. You get to see the dark. You get to see it. So you need both.
Mm-hmm.
You need
I love that.
both.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't see it. If it's just in the dark, you're right. You tumble over it. You can't see anything. You need a headlamp. Anyway, I just went there. So, all right, who has another favorite movie? My dolls are getting restless.
Well, I oddly enough, being a lover, film lover, when I think of this holiday, I think of all the specials. I don't think of a particular movie, although A Wonderful Life is fantastic. I did not watch it every year. And I love the actors, and I love even A Miracle on 34th Street. I do not like that movie, although it's one of the classics that people watch every year. I think of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I think of A Year Without a Santa Claus. I think of those I grew up on. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, all the songs. I mean, and just watching those over and over the years, and then watching them, rewatching them with my kids. One of my absolute favorites, though, we haven't mentioned yet, Emma Daughter's Jug Band Christmas.
Yes.
Nobody
Yes.
needs to. Nobody can say anything about this movie. I'm just going to tell you right now. Talk about good music and great characters and very dated, but I love it. And forcing my children to watch all of these over and over. And then some new ones that came out. What's the elf one? Prep and Landing was really cute. It came out around 2009. It was cute, Jason. I saw that. And and it was cute. And some of the other ones, but I don't think of movies. I think of these specials.
Yeah.
And reading books. Anything that had to do with the Christmas Carol. And the Nightmare, not the Nightmare Before Christmas. My goodness. No, the night before Christmas, we read that every Christmas Eve, and I force my children, even as teenagers, to sit down and listen to it every Christmas Eve. So that is what I associate, not movies.
This is a question, like, we're of the same age, Heather. When we were kids, you could only watch those specials once a year. Yep. You had to know exactly when they were on, and your friends would watch them at school too. And then if you missed it, you were done. Does the easy availability of this stuff make it less special than it was 20 or 30 years ago?
Yeah. And I talk about this a lot when it comes to movies and TV in general now, is that the text, if you think about books as being a text, okay? So movies and television specifically is a text, and it's changed because it used to be a gathering event where the family would come around and we'd sit, and you'd have to be there at 8:00 on Tuesday. And the sitcom was only on once a week, and then you had to wait a full week for it to come back. And this was the way we consume these things. And so it was really special. I mean, even The Wizard of Oz, Halloween, that's the only time you could watch it, And so, yeah, it definitely was. Now it's like, well, I could just turn it on then. I could turn it on then. I could watch it 10 times. Yes, I think it does degrade from how special it is, because it's not an event anymore. It's not something you look forward to that happens only at one time. Now it's like, it's something you can just, you can go to Target, you can watch this movie, you can, whatever, you can watch something else. It's not as special, but I still love it, and I still will watch it, and I still will sing the songs around the house, no matter who tries to shut me up.
I used to have when I was a kid, a videotape, like a VHS cassette that, because the same thing, you'd have to wait all year, and then they'd come on like one time. So finally we recorded it on a VHS tape. So we had all the specials recorded, but it had all the original commercials still in it. And for a long time afterwards, I have to see if my mom still has it, because that would be really cool. But we would watch it, and like the commercials became like the best part. It became that like nostalgia. But now, I have the box sets on DVD, or they're on streaming, or they're whatever. So I think I see that too, like with my kid, that like, he's like, oh, the Grinch again. Like, yes, I need to watch it 100 times because it's Christmas time, or I need to, he said, please stop singing the song. No, I can't, Herbie wants to be a dentist, and we need to talk about that. And, but it's because we can just watch it whenever we want, and it's no big deal.
And I do have to add that a lot of these shows, they don't necessarily have witches in them the way we talk about witch movies, but I think there's something to do with the magic of of Yuletide that's there, and it's resident in these movies, even if they're based on a different holiday, a Christmas holiday, but there's a feel good magic. And like I said, I grew up in a secular home, and the magic was still there. And I'm definitely feel like that is a part of what led me down the magical path and the witchcraft path, was this magic that existed and emanated from a lot of these shows, and maybe I'm Pollyanna, but
I think it's palpable. It's physically palpable at this time of year. Yeah, like it's so even it's like oh my goodness, COVID brain is still got me. It's a Wonderful Life. I watched that for the first time a couple years ago, and even though it can, like, I can see how some people can watch that and think it's depressing, because like this time of year is depressing for a lot of people. There's still some, somewhere along the line, there's a spark of something that lights something inside you, and whether you celebrate Christmas or you don't, or you celebrate one of the other holidays that happen around this time, it's palpable. Like you can really truly feel it. And I saw a comment come up somewhere about Santa. I have to just interject. I fully believe Santa's a witch. Hot take.
Well, I love the Rankin Bass things because there's no religion in them whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just magical stuff. There are some Rankin Bass specials which are specifically religious. Nestor the long-eared donkey, for instance, and the little drummer boy. But the ones that people actually like and watch are not religious. Rudolph, there's no "we're flying for Jesus" stuff in it. It's just not there. All of the Santa Claus, Year Without it. What is it? Year Without a Santa Claus?
Yeah. And Santa Claus is coming to town.
None of those have anything really religious in them at all. It's just magic. And that's what makes this time of year so special. This is the time of year when everybody believes in magic. Yeah. Nobody says, oh, it's 4th of July magic. It's Labor Day magic. It's Christmas, Not even Halloween doesn't really have that association in the mainstream culture like this time of year does. This is the most magical time.
I agree. I grew up in a secular household too, very much so. And I didn't even know it was a religious holiday. It was Santa. It was a tree and presents and Santa Claus. And that's as much. Why do I have these weird shadows on my face? It's the doll. I didn't know. We would pass a church and I'd see baby Jesus in a thing, and I just thought that was one of the stories of like Santa.
Yeah.
So, but it had magic. We had lots and lots of magic.
Well, there is a lot of, not only is there an association with magic, but actually specifically there is L. Frank Baum wrote The Life and Times of Santa Claus in 1901. And so it's again, The Wizard of Oz. So it is about witches and magic. So absolutely. Now, I grew up religious, but it was different for me in my household. My parents did not believe in Santa because they said we worked hard We were the ones who bought you that, not some fat old man who steals away in the house. I did that, not him. So my parents were kind of realists that way. Also, I think they wanted the credit, which I think was kind of great actually. But they definitely believed in the spirit of Christmas, the feeling of. So I even though I'm a bit of a bah humbug, I there are elements that I do actually really like.
I have a question which probably might have to start with Heather. Robert Hicks, my beautiful friend, Robert Hicks says, there's really nothing in the way of Christmas movies that contain witches. Is there, or is there?
Christmas appears here and there in a lot of Hollywood films as a marker of goodness. So in for example, Bell Book and Candle, that in the beginning, I believe it's the beginning, it takes place in Christmas, and the witches are celebrating Christmas, and she just wants to celebrate Christmas and go to church and stuff. So she makes that. So you see them, Christmas appear as markers and codes. But there's no specific necessarily witch movie that's dedicated to Christmas, except for the atrocious Christmas special called The Magic Christmas Tree, which I mentioned last week. And I don't know if anybody went out and watched it, because if you did, you would have said something to me, I'm sure, or sent me some nasty grams over some social media platform. This is a terrible, but it has a witch in it. It's as a central character, and it is a Christmas special. Christmas, as far as I recall, it does appear though in Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. It appears in Harry Potter. So Christmas appears in movies, but I don't believe there's a specific witch movie that's Christmas is central to, except for The Magic Christmas Tree.
I think there's a Good Witch movie, which was a Hallmark Lifetime movie kind of thing. Like there's a Good Witch Christmas, I think. So there's one.
It's a special. Yeah.
There's a whole
specials.
That series. I love that series. It's so boring.
There's some specials around, but yeah, it's not a thing you think of witches, which in mainstream, I mean, reality is in mainstream culture, if you're going to have a witch, it's either going to be about Salem or a small town in New England, or it's going to be a Halloween. I mean, that's the main, or it's going to be some horror, scary film. Christmas is rarely wait a minute. There's the Italian film La Befana, and I believe there's two of them. So that's an Italian film, and I have yet to see it, but I heard it's really good and really fun. So La Befana would be the closest we get, and that's an Italian movie.
So do we know what the Legend of the Christmas Witch that Holly just brought up? Is that a movie? Do we know?
That's La Befana.
Oh, that's La Befana. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you don't know the story about La Befana, and I don't know if Jason, if you did more on this, but I did write a couple articles on it, and I interviewed some Italian witches. And basically in Italy, the Christmas witch comes and delivers the presents and the treats and everything rather than Santa. They knew La Befana before they knew Santa Claus. And that's who La Befana is. It's a witch that delivers the goodies to children at Christmas. I think Santa's probably overtaken her, but I'm not exactly sure where that stands with the young Italian children now.
She's making a comeback though, because people are really interested in those more indigenous sort of gift givers in areas. Mm-hmm. And I'll also say too, it's really cool. The last 10 years, we've seen this sort of eruption of interest in figures like the Yule Goat, La Befana, and the Krampus. I mean, there's something magical happening, right? And these figures are sort of rising back up. And they're not going to replace Santa anytime soon, but I think that they can stand side by side with Santa, or the Krampus can put Santa in his backpack and take him to hell for a little while.
Huge. Here we go with that dark again, but Krampus is huge these days. Yeah, I don't even think I knew who Krampus was when I was a kid.
Mm-mm. No, I didn't. I didn't know about La Befana. I didn't know about Krampus. I knew about Satan. But I didn't know about, it was all Santa Claus. I didn't even know there was a Hanukkah Harry until I was in my teens, and my family's Jewish, so
I didn't know there was a Hanukkah Harry until I was 30.
I think it's a joke.
It's John Lovitz from Saturday Night Live, right?
Oh.
Hanukkah Harry.
It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a real thing. No, Hanukkah presents are not delivered by Hanukkah Harry. I can attest to that.
Okay. We should chat a little bit about A Christmas Carol and all the different versions therein. Who wants to start with that? Who knows?
I do.
No. Somebody said the background was moving. I don't know. Can you tell?
It better not be my background with all your dolls out here.
With A Christmas Carol, as much of, like I said, as much of a bah humbug as I am, I absolutely love the fact that these spirits have haunted this man who finds the error of his ways. However, I kind of have an alternate view. So no, maybe I'll save that for later, but I have an alternate view of it. No, I'll tell you right now. Why not? So here's my alternate view of A Christmas Carol. So Ebenezer Scrooge, whose partner in business had died, what was it, 7 years before that very night, and he Scrooge made certain that there were people who had jobs, that he was a money lender. People came to him, they had money. Now, if I had a money lender who was throwing gold coins out the window, I would think he had gone crazy, and I wouldn't want to borrow money from him because my investment wouldn't be safe. So here he is. The nephew comes in, who's this limousine liberal, who says, "Oh, uncle, why don't you take care of this person?" Well, why don't you take care of him? You're not upper class. You're not exactly poor. You're not like Bob Cratchit and his family. You have a nice townhouse. You have uppity friends. Your uncle is rich, even though they're not. He himself is not really rich. Why didn't he invite Bob Cratchit and family to his uppity party if he was so worried about it? And then these three ghosts, they come in and they threaten him with basically hellfire. What if you don't start giving away your money, you're going to burn forever. And then in mental duress, he starts handing out all of his money. I feel sorry for Scrooge. And I still say Christmas is a humbug.
We started the show off so well, Richard-Lael, and now you're like killing me yet again this week.
We know the love affair is over.
Yeah. Maybe it's just two Capricorns butting heads. I don't know, but I think A Christmas Carol is great. I think its importance on the Christmas season is sometimes a little overstated. Dickens didn't really invent the modern Christmas, but that story is the most adapted story and the most read story in the English language. And it's brilliant, and it doesn't tell Scrooge to give away all of his money. It just says that Scrooge should be nice and kind. He can keep most of his money, but he doesn't need all of it. Charity, begins in the home. It begins with family, begins with people around you. And that's what it's promoting. Dickens cared greatly about the poor, which is one of the reasons that he wrote A Christmas Carol. And the Muppet Christmas Carol is the best Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Alistair Sims, that's number two. That's number two. It's a good number two. But Muppet Christmas Carol is the best. And it's actually really, really faithful to the book. It does a great job of adapting the book.
I do love Miss Piggy as Mrs. Cratchit.
I had a meme come up on my Facebook memories today. That it was like, let's not forget that this is also the time of year that we celebrate ghosts haunting employers into paying their employees a livable wage, which I think is really funny. But I have to agree, the Muppets Christmas Carol as a kid, like A Christmas Carol, I feel like in my childhood was the only Christmas movie that they would let us watch in school, like coming up before the Christmas break, because it was also, it was literature, so it was they could get away with it. So I had seen a lot of different versions, but like nothing scared me, nothing drilled fear into me like the Ghost of Christmas Future from A Muppet's Christmas Carol. I don't know if anyone else felt the same way, but it was like the scariest thing I'd ever seen. But I love that movie so much.
Ghosts can be scary for people, but puppet ghosts,
Thank
Muppet
you.
ghosts,
Okay. Yes,
it's
okay.
very scary. I mean, when they would do their ghosts and in their regular show back when I was a kid, I would be terrified because that's just not a ghost, but that's also a Muppet ghost. It seems worse. But this story to me is Christmas. I agree with Jason. The Muppet Christmas Carol is fantastic. I also watched. I was a big Disney fan, so Disney did a version of it with Scrooge McDuck, and I love it. But no matter which version that I watch, whether it's a serious version, whether it's a Muppets or cartoons, I just can't stop crying as soon as he says at the end, what's the line he says at the end? And now I'm going to forget. God bless us, everyone. The little Timmy. And when he says that, that's it. I'm done. Give me like an hour to recover from that. It's just it's a moment in everyone when they capture it right.
Everyone except Richard-Lael.
And if you're short on time,
that is very true. Thank you, Courtney.
If you're short on time, the Disney version's actually pretty good because I think it's only 20 minutes. It moves really fast. Yeah. Though the ending is a little messed up where they like really fast forward through everything and Scrooge shows up at Bob Cratchit's house. That just killed me. It's like, no, this is not how it ends. But other than that,
it was a special. It was a short special, and when it and the little mouse at the end. God bless us, everyone. Oh my goodness, I'm done.
And Miss Piggy, yeah, whatever.
Our producer Rob Lawrence mentioned the Patrick Stewart TNT version.
Yes,
Scrooge. That's a serious version. Scrooge. Yeah.
Sir Patrick Stewart. That one is one of my favorites, though. I have to admit, I really love the Kelsey Grammer version. It's not good, but I really love it. It's a musical, and it's good because it's bad, but it's not so good. But I love it. I do love that one.
Also worth checking out is Spirited, which is the new. It's a kind of like an adaptation, but it's sort of like after A Christmas Carol, and that's got Will Ferrell in it and Ryan Reynolds on streaming on Apple, and it's a musical and it's really fun. They did a good job with it.
Is that new? I don't know if that's.
It just came out this year, and it's nice to see somebody try to take this story forward. And it talks about all the ghosts wanting to haunt a new person every year. So it's really sort of a fascinating take on it. Highly recommended. Highly recommended.
I like to jump in here. Someone mentioned the Polar Express in the chat, and I think part of what we're talking about is this love at this time of year for storytelling, and I think that's part of Dickens' the lore of it and the attraction to it is it's a great story, and we love to retell these stories at this time. It's part of the magic is the storytelling. It's again like A Night Before Christmas. That poem is read every constantly, and then we see Polar Express is a more recent story, but it's one of the really big ones, and my kids loved the Polar Express, and it also captured the magic that we're talking about. In fact, there's a train just north of here. I'm in Atlanta, just north of here in Chattanooga, that there's a train that runs, and they dress it up and do the whole thing like the Polar Express, and you can go and take your kids and you get chocolate and hot chocolate, and they take you out. It's a whole big thing. They do Thomas the Tank Engine in the summer, so it's kind of their thing, but they do the Polar Express, and it's a big thing they do down here. So that one is another one that's another great story. And one of the things I love to do was I would bring out the holiday books and the holiday stories from the old ones like Dickens to the more modern ones like Polar Express or I don't remember some of the other stuff. And the kids loved it. Reading the stories around the fire when it actually was cold here, or around the Christmas tree, or around the Yule tree and Yule log. So I think that's part of it too.
Can I hop in for 1 second on Polar Express? Because
yeah, sure.
Heather, you were just talking about like that one line in A Christmas Carol making you cry. And the Polar Express, I love. The animation to me is terrible, but the story is great. And it took me so long to figure this out, like for me to get this, probably within the last couple of years, and I don't know why. But that one scene where that little boy doesn't believe in Santa, and then he gets dropped off at his house, and it's like he's the poor kid, and that's why he doesn't believe in Santa, because he doesn't get presents, and then he believes because he gets a present. Like, I don't know how it took me so long to figure out that that's what that was. But when it did, now I cannot watch that movie without my soul being ripped from my body and like wanting to go out and buy presents for all the children who can't have presents. Like, but I think that is part of the magic. Like, you feel, I'm a person who likes to spread kindness. Like, I'll pay for a car behind me in a drive-thru or whatever it is. But like at Christmas, I would give the shirt off my back just to make sure that everyone can experience the magic. And I think it's like the magic taking on a life of its own almost. But that scene in Polar Express literally tears me apart every time.
Aww.
It is. That's part of the magic.
I like movies like Elf, though, that don't make me cry.
Elf is one of my favorites.
Will Ferrell, come on.
Santa, I know him.
Elf is just amazing from start to finish. It's so much fun. I think it might be Will Ferrell's best role out of many great roles, and I love Ron Burgundy.
Oh, I love Will Ferrell.
I don't think it's necessarily his best, but it is definitely up there. I do love Elf too. Well, it's Will Ferrell. I mean, he can do no wrong. So, almost.
I quote that movie
Bewitched.
daily.
That was wrong. Bewitched was wrong.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. That's why I said almost Richard-Lael.
And the Witch movie. He went red on the Witch movie. It's good on planes.
Tabitha says Elf makes me cry when they all sing in the park. I have to give it to her. That makes me cry too when they all sing in the park. Anything about that building of the spirit, like finding that Christmas spirit, makes me cry. Mm-hmm. But Elf is. My son gets so mad at me because he doesn't like that movie because of how many times I've made him watch it. It's like it's played out in our house, but I have to secretly watch it by myself like 12 times a month, every month.
That's good. I don't know. I can't watch. I mean, I could watch something once a year for 12, 20 years. I can't watch something 12 times in a row. I can't.
Oh, I could rewatch it over because you know how bad I want to eat that plate of spaghetti, like with the Pop-Tarts on top, and I can't. I just can't. So I just have to watch him do it over and over again.
You're an adult. I mean, you can do that. I don't think you should, but you can.
Jason, thank you for that permission. I appreciate it. Treat yourself, right? Like I'm gonna
allow it. That's what the Romans would have done on Saturnalia. They would have eaten spaghetti with Pop-Tarts.
Maybe next week.
Mm-hmm.
Next week on the show, I'll have it.
Oh yeah, and momentarily we're going to talk about next week but last but not least, who do we think is the best Santa? Who's ever played the best Santa?
Billy Bob
Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Well, Rob says Ed Asner is the best Santa, but who was the best Santa? I don't know. I loved Krampus as Santa. That was my favorite. That was my personal favorite.
I don't know. I'd have to go and I need to think about that. That's hard to say.
I wasn't joking when I said Billy Bob Thornton. I love that movie.
I know Ed Asner. He's pretty Santa-like. He is good.
Mickey Rooney was the voice of Santa in some of those Rankin Bass specials.
Yeah, I think he always will be Santa to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That voice.
Before we end, because I want to talk about what we want to do for New Year's movies, if there's witchy New Year's movies. But before that, we need to do our wands up and wands down. But what are we going to do our wands up and wands down about?
Christmas Carol.
Christmas.
Christmas.
Okay, Christmas.
You know what movies we didn't mention, and I just need to pop in. We talked about all the magic and all the love. We did not talk about a Christmas movie or Christmas Vacation or any of the goofy ones we love to watch that maybe don't capture the magic but do capture some good laughs.
And the Gremlins takes place on Christmas Day, and you can't feed them. You can't after midnight. You can't get them wet, and then all through Christmas it's destroyed because
That's Nathan's favorite Christmas movie.
Nathan and I, we are simpatico. That is
Okay.
I think Gremlins is one of my favorites.
I will argue that the Lord of the Rings movies are Christmas movies too, just because of when they were originally released. At our house, they're definitely Christmas movies.
I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that.
Talked about how I never watched any of the Harry Potter series. Guess what? I also never watched Lord of the Rings.
Like every week now, Richard-Lael, you just wound me a little bit more. If I could run
next week?
Oh.
What's going to happen next week?
But I will tell you.
Well, let's do one. Let's do A Christmas Carol. Every version.
Every version.
Every version. Okay, let's do Christmas in general. Yay! Richard-Lael.
I just wanted to see it.
Let's do Saturnalia, gluttony, and yay! Let's do Yule, bringing back of the light, solstice, winter. And again, no matter what you celebrate, with or without any religious or spiritual overtones, it is a time for magic. It's a time for magic, everybody. So let's wands up, wands down to magic. Yay! All right, before we go, because we just have a few minutes left, next year we've got New Year's coming. It's a New Year's. Is there any witchy New Year's movies? Or what do we like to watch for New Year's that maybe has a witchy feel or theme to it?
Think about that.
Yeah.
What does?
Anybody out there in our chat room? Is there any? And if there isn't, somebody should write one. And somebody earlier, I don't remember if it was Matthew, said that with the upsurge and the craft and everything, and with people, somebody does need to make a real witchy Christmas movie, perhaps. The Conjuring.
I think it should be us. I think we should make it.
We should make it. All right. On a Zoom screen like this.
Yes. Exactly.
There is Rudolph's Shiny New Year, which doesn't really have a witch in it, but it does have Benjamin Franklin and a caveman and a whale named Big Ben, and of course like a little baby New Year named Happy. Yeah, his name was Happy. I love that one.
I have that on DVD and I've never watched it. And guess what I'm doing tonight?
And it has the original voice of Rudolph, because that is the only voice of Rudolph.
Yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we could build a show around that particular Franken Bass episode, though. We would really be treading water for the hour.
All right. Well, we do want to wish everybody a happy holiday. I want everybody to, again, quickly just say what's going on. If you have anything that people should watch for, live appearances, your website, your social media, etc., etc., etc. This week, why don't we start with Richard-Lael, because you got the cutest wig of the group.
Well, thank you. It's all my hair. I grew it naturally, of course.
Yay.
Anyway, so you can find me. I'm easy to be found.
But I'm pumped.
I am the Gentleman Psychic. You can find me on thegentlemanpsychic.com. That is the best way to reach me. Or if you can find me on Facebook, Richard-Lael Lillard, Instagram, Twitter, not Twitter, and I'm not on Twitter anymore. Anywhere other than Twitter, all of the other medias of social, that's where I am. Richard-Lael Lillard. And it's only one spelling. There's only one spelling. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Courtney.
That's me. You can find me on all the socials at the Femes, which is short for Femur. I am on Instagram with Black Phillip. That's where you can keep up with his adventures. We met a celebrity in Salem this week, so you can check that out. You can find me on Twitch. I play horror games, so if you want to scare the pants off me, you won't be able to see it, but it will happen. And then you can also watch me as Ghostbait on Scared and Alone at scaredandalone.com. And, just as a reminder, Hail Santa. So that's how I feel about the season. But yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Jason.
I'm Jason Mankey. I can be found at every social media platform, including Twitter, until it shuts down next week. I just had a book come out called Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods, which I talked about on Patty's show a week and a half, like just a week ago or so. So that's really exciting, and it's a quiet time. But in February, festival season starts, going again, and I'll be in Detroit for the Great Convocation Festival.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you. I had no hands to mute. All right, Heather. My babies are crashing everywhere.
Oh no. I am Heather Greene, and I am on all the socials, varying names, but you can find me through my website at heathergreene.net, and you can find the links and all the good stuff, as well as a link to my articles that I've written for various outlets, all involving witchy stuff, usually in the occult and all kinds of fun stuff. I also just dropped, or I didn't drop it, but just dropped is the English version of a documentary on witches in movies that I am interviewed in. It's a great one. There's several other people who are interviewed. It's called The Witches of Hollywood. You can rent it on Amazon. I think it's on Peacock and maybe Hulu or Tubi or some of the other places you can find it. But it's called The Witches of Hollywood, and it's got a really good, really obvious promo white with a big witch hat. So there we're talking about witches in movies as well. It's a French documentary, but it is in English. And so that just happened. And yeah, like Jason said, I'll start appearing in places come the new year, different stuff. So I'll be talking about that in a few weeks.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I am Patti Negri. Find me here every Wednesday. Find me on The Witching Hour, drops fresh every Monday, everywhere you get podcasts. My live appearances start in February too, staying home in January. I've got the Dark Water Cruise coming up to the Caribbean. I've got all sorts of paracons and things. So follow us all, like us all. Patti Negri Psychic Medium on Facebook, Patti.Negri on Instagram. Twitter's Patti Negri for the next week that it lasts. So think about holiday or New Year witch movies for next week. So you guys can put into our chat room. You can go to our Witches Movie Coven page on Facebook and tell us things you want us to talk about, or think of a movie that we haven't thought of as a New Year or witchy or beginning of the year movie. We would love to hear it. And other than that, get some merch. Get yourself a Black Phillip sweatshirt or t-shirt or a big snuggly blanket, and we can all wear them together. Or a doll. We should have this on Mystery Control is what we should have.
Yeah, I have to say those sweatshirts are so comfy. I wore it for more days in a row than I'd like to admit publicly without washing it, because I didn't want to take it off because it was really snuggy.
I love it.
We appreciate you washing it though, Courtney.
I did wash it. Yes, yeah. I did. Eventually, yeah.
Eventually. Well, anyway, we are the Witches Movie Coven. Please come back next Wednesday, and please tell your friends if you like us. Please give us any suggestions. We really want to hear. We want to thank our producer, Rob Cohen, and Christine Roth. We want to thank all of you for we don't always say what we see, but we are reading it and we love it. Thank you, Scarlett and Gray. Thank you, Robert Hicks. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Raymond. All you folks, we really do appreciate your participation, because that's why we do it live. So thank you. And I think we have one more thing to do, right? You guys have to join in. Wands ready? Philip ready? Dolls ready? Haunts ready?
No dolls.
No. 1, 2, 3. We're the Witches Movie Coven, and you're a member.
I love the ho-ho-hos.
Yeah. For a limited time only.